Formula One returns to the USA. The championship has been racing here since the very first season. Today, for the 11th time, we prepare to do battle at the circuit of the Americas. The world champion sits just 6th on the grid. Max Verstappen stands ready to fight his way through the field and score a landmark half-century of victories. It is a capacity crowd of 140,000. Austin is all set. It is race day, and this is the US Grand Prix. Here's the circuit, 5.5 kilometers, 3.4 miles, and 56 laps today, up from 19 yesterday. That run up to turn one, an enormous climb of those 30 meters, make the journey up to the apex in just 200 meters of distance, climbing, and we have seen some wonderful moves through the years. Two world champions, wheel to wheel, Jenson Button and Michael Schumacher, back in the very first race here in 2012. Sometimes this is a corner where you're thinking about the exit, not Charles Leclerc on Sebastian Vettel. A late lunge to the inside in 2019. The Monegasque driver today hoping that he'll need to overtake no one on his course for victory. Hamilton and Rosberg were scrapping all the way through 2014. This was Lewis Hamilton carving his way past on his way to the win. He's got 5 of them around this circuit. The tyres today will be intriguing. It's the C4, the C3 and the C2. We expect the strategy to be a 2-stop. There's not much between the 1-stop and the 2-stop, but if you get the 1-stop and you're close to the end, you are super vulnerable to a late attack, as we saw on the last corners of the last lap with Sebastian Vettel and Kevin Magnussen in the battle last year. 4 cars in the pit lane is a rather unusual sentence to say. You've got the 2 Aston Martins and then the 2 Haas's. Fernando Alonso's gone back to the Qatar spec. Haas have changed the specification of rear wing. Lance Stroll has changed components as well. Then it's the 2 Williams promoted, thanks to that 16th and 15th for Logan Sargent and Alex Albon. Daniel Ricciardo back in a Formula One car for a Grand Prix, going from 14th. He's next to former winner around this track, Valtteri Bottas. And then it's Joe and Tsunoda, 12th and 11th. We break into the top 10 with Oscar Piastri occupying 10th position. Sergio Perez trying to do what he did in Hungary and turn P9 into P3. Esteban Ocon is just behind his teammate. Pierre Gasly's 7th place is his best ever start at the Circuit of the Americas. Max Verstappen's best time in qualifying was deleted, so he starts 6th on the grid. George Russell is alongside. He hit Carlos Sainz, who is the driver ahead of him on the grid. That was last year. This year they're 4th and 5th. And on the front row, Lando Norris occupies it for the 3rd time this season, next to Charles Leclerc, who scores a 21st career pole position. That was a superb lap within the white lines. It means that Max Verstappen has more work to do as he chases that half-century. And the Red Bull driver has a look of intent there. Winner of the sprint yesterday, Carlos Sainz's race came undone at the first corner 1 year ago, and you're looking at Lewis Hamilton, who adores the USA and adores racing at this configuration, purely because he's never been off the podium more than once, which is a remarkable statistic if you consider this is going to be the 11th running for the US Grand Prix. Lando Norris trying to be the first driver to take a maiden win since 1982 in the USA. It is an unusual thing to see. We haven't seen that since we were racing at the old Las Vegas track when it was a car park at Caesars Palace. The version this year is going to be truly, truly special. We're looking at a grid with just 16 drivers then. Delighted to welcome to the commentary box 13-time Grand Prix winner David Coulthard. David, is Max Verstappen going to be able to fight his way through from 6th on the grid?
In a word, yes, he will be able to, but there's a lot of variables, isn't there? A bit more wind today. There is the unexpected potential of some contact running up into that first corner. And yeah, a bit higher track temperature as well, which may well play into the degradation.
James Hinchcliffe, you have sprinted to the box as we begin the formation lap. So many unexpected moments across this race through the years. Will we get another one today?
It's certainly possible. I mean, the recipe's all there for it, especially with this sprint format. I cannot stress enough how challenging it is to not be able to really adjust the setup on these race cars after FP1. And so there are a lot of unknowns and a lot of variables.
We're on to the formation lap in Austin, 3.4 miles of this circuit, 56 laps ahead of us. And the tower there that you can see very nearly 77 meters tall. To give you an idea, you are climbing 30 meters up to turn 1. and that turn one has provided plenty of moments of brinkmanship. Last year it was full-on contact. A reminder for you that the strategy today we expect to be a two-stop involving the medium and hard tyres. If you are out of the points, you might roll the dice on a one-stop, but it could leave you vulnerable in the final corners of the last lap.
Anthony Joshua here. I'm just wishing you well. God bless you. We're all behind you.
Thanks, champ.
Heavyweight champion of the world, DC, wishing Pierre Gasly, well, former heavyweight champion of the world, wishing Pierre Gasly good luck on the radio.
Yeah, big fan of heavyweight boxing. I've seen Anthony fight a couple of times. Unfortunately, he lost both times I was there, so I'm definitely not a good luck charm.
It's your fault.
Not invited back.
What athletic specimen he is. And, yeah, well, he will fight again, I'm sure, for a championship in the future.
Well, Anthony Joshua is part of an incredible star-studded lineup of Alpine investors. And Rory McIlroy here yesterday, Anthony Joshua here today. But it's all eyes to the pit lane now as we see the two Haas cars. So they knew that they just got the downforce level wrong. They've adjusted it, but in adjusting it, they've had to put both cars in the pit lane. So anything is a bonus for them. That is a heavily revised car, it's worth saying. They've taken heavy inspiration from the Red Bull, the champion car of the year in the Constructors' Championship. But Aston Martin, both cars in the pit lane. Haas, both cars in the pit lane. Let's throw it forward to the front row. Charles Leclerc chasing another victory in Formula One. It would only be his 6th. If you consider that it's pole position 21, he is looking to try and improve that conversion rate today. But will he have the tyre life? That is the big question. And Lando Norris, we have seen so many times the driver in P2 get the jump and lead into the first turn. Red Bull are wary of what Norris can do in clear air. These are stirring moments as we hear the revs rise and the cars take it to the line.
This is always a great moment for a driver, isn't it? Your final bit of preparation as you roll the car into your grid slot. All responsibility lies with you.
So Max Verstappen is seeking to win a 15th Grand Prix in a single season. That's his record. He's looking to match it today. It would also be his 50th in Formula One. But look, there are 5 cars parked on the grid ahead of him. We're on board with Daniel Ricciardo, returning to Formula One in 14th position. Felt yesterday he was a little bit rusty, but he's had 19 laps to reacclimatise himself. He's looking for more late lunges in the braking zone. Pointer for you, the great overtaking opportunities in this racetrack up to turn 1 and turn 12 off the back straight. 4 cars in the pit lane, 16 on the grid. Green flag at the back. Here comes the action in Austin. And the US Grand Prix is go. Mighty reaction time for Lando Norris in the Papaya McLaren. He's going to get the lead before we get to turn number 1. Lando Norris takes the lead in the US Grand Prix. It was close to contact between Charles Leclerc and the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, but they made it through. And Hamilton has gone down a position. Up goes Carlos Sainz to P3 as they sweep through the S's on the first of 56 laps. But it's a dream getaway for the man who's turned 2nd place in the grid to 1st in the race. Lando Norris leads.
Yeah, that was a great start from him. I think there was some contact there with Gasly. We saw a little puff of smoke, but no visible damage. And yeah, what a great start for Lando Norris. He now needs to manage those tyres with the car heavy with fuel.
Max Verstappen gained a position. He is up to 5th. They are debating into the braking zone. A move there with Gasly trying to find his way by. It's Ocon ahead of Russell for the moment. Gasly down to 10th position. His teammate has improved up to that position. Now, Charles Leclerc has lost the lead. He's got his teammate for company as well. Max Verstappen's trying to pass. The 2 Ferraris go wheel to wheel. Will they make it through turn 12? That is mighty close between the 2 of them. And around the outside in the background, Max Verstappen battling Oscar Piastri, who's up 4 positions. So that's an unusual sight to see. Verstappen did maintain 5th place. Crucial for him, the 2nd Red Bull of Sergio Perez. It's still in 9th place. That's where he started the race.
Actually looks like Max must have got involved somewhere, maybe at turn 11, the hairpin, because he was on the gearbox of Hamilton as they came to the end of that fast sequence of corners. Then he's dropped back a little bit.
Yeah, he has. There's a little bit of a gap back there then to the Alpine of Ocon. I think it was actually that Alpine that had the contact with Oscar Piastri just in front on that first lap. Hopefully no damage there, running in the points right now, but lots of jockeying for position here on the first lap of the USGP.
So it's Lando Norris with the lead as he chases his maiden Grand Prix victory. Max Verstappen will have the best race pace out there, but he is in the pack and he will have to sift his way through. I can tell you that the track temperature is 40 degrees, the air temperature is 29. It's going to be hot and heavy work out there, and you will get field spread because of corners like these. It's a 2-second lead for Lando Norris, so he's cleared DRS as well. The Ferraris battling each other was not maybe the best course of events, considering that they're on the back foot for tyre life, for longevity on those mediums, and it is worth saying everyone at the front is on mediums apart from Hülkenberg and Stroll, who are on the hard tyres. They both started from the pit lane.
Yeah, it makes sense when you're already going to be well behind the field as you clear the pit lane to go on a different strategy. And when you've got heavy fuel, as we've got no DRS, but we've got George Russell trying to slipstream. And will he trying to cut back here down at turn 12?
Oh yeah, very aggressively, almost too much. Cut that corner, hit the apex curve, really upset the Mercedes there. Not a great first lap from Russell, down 3 spots, but we've seen so much the last few Grand Prix, him go on the attack, go on the offensive, and pull off some great moves. So hopefully we're going to see some of that as now we ride on board with Checo Perez. And there you go, some of that damage to Esteban Ocon from that first lap contact radioed back.
We're riding on board with Sergio Perez, 6-time Grand Prix winner, and you can see that Russell is all over the back of the blue Alpine ahead. French car, French driver, denying Russell at the moment, who will want to make the move quickly. He will know that Perez will have superb race pace in that second Red Bull, as you see Lewis Hamilton getting close to the back of Carlos Sainz into turn 1. His teammate, George Russell, 9-9 in the qualifying head-to-head between those two, but Hamilton a long way ahead in the Drivers' Championship points-wise. It's a 2.4-second lead for the McLaren of Lando Norris. McLaren winning the first ever running of the Circuit of the Americas Grand Prix here back in 2012. Lando Norris looking to take his first win today. Yesterday, George Russell got a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. They are looking at that again in race control.
I'm going to want to see what that's from, because he's moved down, he's down 3 spots from where he started, so not sure where exactly that happened now. As again on board the Red Bull. Here he goes, that's the Mercedes of Russell down the inside into turn 11. Can Ocon come back on him now?
This is going to be a melee down to turn 12. Build up the speed all the time. The detection point is ahead of the corner, so that is why DRS belongs to George Russell, but it's a good launch off the line. Are we going to go 3 wide? We're on board with Sergio Perez. Who is going to lead into this corner? It's George Russell who manages to get past, and Perez gets through as well. Down goes Ocon, and he mugged him at turn 11. He kept the place at turn 12, and Perez went through as well. It is Russell 7th, Perez 8th, and Ocon P9.
Yeah, George Russell getting that DRS detection and then going, okay, I'm going to launch it in the braking, and it worked out for him. And then Checo Perez went massive slipstream from both cars. Looked like he might be brave on the brakes, but thought better off it.
The 2 Alpines now, line astern. Pierre Gasly, who had the 7th place on the grid.
Tell Esteban not to make me lose time.
Yeah, it's a fair enough call if there's damage on Esteban's car, to let Gasly get on with it, try to keep that car in the points, move up a little bit further, chase down the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, and there they go. They have swapped places now as Carlos Sainz has Lewis Hamilton all over the back of him through this high-speed first section.
Ocon dropping like a stone. He's now out of the points. Yuki Tsunoda has improved up to 10th position. We're focusing on the battle for the final place on the podium. Looking at Ferrari's tyre life, though, yesterday, it might well be 2nd place. Lando Norris is currently in a position where he's ahead of Max Verstappen by 5.7 seconds as it stands. We'll keep you updated on that gap as we go through the Grand Prix. But here's the opportunity for Lewis Hamilton. He's within a second. He's within DRS. Wants to clear both Ferraris. This is the first of them. Carlos Sainz, who got the jump on him in the opening corners of the race, and that was not a contest. Down to turn 12. Hamilton easily taking 3rd place in the race.
Yeah, Carlos not even trying to defend that one. He knew with DRS, no, it was very much a case of, well, Hamilton's coming through. And what's really interesting, actually, like Norris drove the first couple of laps beautifully and arguably a bit hard on the tyres and in, I'm sure, his peak temperatures, but he's now backed it off and he's controlling that gap beautifully, just over 2 seconds. And well, back with the race start on the left of screen there. Very similar reactions, but it just looks like that Ferrari was bogging or spinning the wheels. We need to be on board to know exactly what was going on. And at that stage there, Charles, very brave to leave such a wide door open for those behind. But yeah, a drop of place for him. We see the battle there with Verstappen and Hamilton all getting a bit tasty as they run down the hill.
That's the scene in the McLaren garage as they took the lead of the Grand Prix thanks to Lando Norris. We go on board with Carlos Sainz, and the driver leaving the line in 4th place, taking that dive to the inside.
Yeah, you could see from this one, it wasn't even so much, as you see Hamilton just sort of getting pushed out wide there. It wasn't even so much that Norris got a great start. Leclerc just did not get a very good one at all because Hamilton was right up the back of him in the gearbox there. Now on board with Max Verstappen. Let's see how turn 1 went for him. Gets by Russell quick.
Takes that very wide line, which you're always going to glance in your mirror, and then tries to run it wide with Hamilton, and then in the end just has to back out of it. You hear the lift there as he dropped down the hill. Compromised Hamilton a bit as well, but he got round without any damage.
Here's a lunge from Max Verstappen, trying to take 4th place away, and he does so. So that was as easy as Hamilton's move was 1 lap before, and Verstappen climbs a place. 6th on the grid, now up to 4th, and he remains 5.4 seconds away from Lando Norris out front. And McLaren will be hoping that Norris can build a gap now, because it's going to be a little bit of clear air. It'll be interesting to see Verstappen in comparison to Hamilton, who is closing down on Charles Leclerc ahead. This is the curb cam at turn 19. It's a great shot as well as they come to the end of the lap.
If you think back to the sprint race yesterday, the first 4 or 5 laps, Hamilton could sort of keep pace with Verstappen. He could stay within DRS zone. It's really the latter half of the stint where the Red Bull seems to shine. So Max, you know, that was the first proper overtake after turn 1 there that we've seen out of him in the first 5 laps. This is now when we're going to start seeing the Red Bull able to stretch its wings. You see the Mercedes on the right of your screen catching the Ferrari now. Can Verstappen close that gap quickly, join that fight? And right now, I think Norris kind of heard your message, DC, and he said, no, I don't like that Max is starting to move up. I'm going to increase that gap 3.4 seconds now as the Ferrari starts to struggle with its tires early in this race.
Yeah, it's quite clear Hamilton is not thinking long first stint. He's going in, he knows he's got a good race car. All of this running so close to the car in front just means you're not getting as much clean downforce, and then you're taking a bit more out of your tires. But perfectly poised here to do to Leclerc what he did to Sainz a couple of laps ago.
And Leclerc very wide there from the apex in turn 11. This might be a pretty standard one. Are we going to see more of a defense than Carlos Sainz did? Yes, but he's got the momentum. Can he pull it off on the outside? No problem there for Lewis Hamilton. And now the chase is on for Lando Norris.
2nd place for Lewis Hamilton, sweeping by both Ferraris. No contest really for either Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc, and they are celebrating. He's got great support around here, and he's 3.2 seconds away from his old team. He always asks about McLaren's results. He was told about Piastri's sprint win last time out, and he was pleased to be the only other team that he's raced with in Formula One. Hamilton has extended his contract with Mercedes into the future. He was on the stage earlier this weekend talking about 5 more years in Formula One as he seeks that elusive 8th title of the world. Wants to get back to winning ways, has an opportunity today, and he's made a tidy pass on Charles Leclerc. We'll expect Verstappen to close up in the next couple of laps as well. And unsurprisingly, Esteban Ocon, who has the most retirements of anyone in the field in Formula One 2023, is going to extend that unwanted record for the 6th time this year. He will not see the flag. The team have told him to retire the car. Let's go back to the opening lap of the Grand Prix to find out why. Oh, it's a big hit for Ocon. So lucky to keep the car pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that was just a racing incident. I don't think that was sort of one over the other to apportion blame. It was 2 cars running at high speeds in the melee of, well, all the energy that's there at the start of a race. You're trying to figure out, you know, you're almost feeling and sensing where the other cars are when they're all so close together. And on this occasion, they both didn't quite get it right.
So focusing now on Max Verstappen, who has cleared one of the Ferraris. The next one is the man who denied him the opportunity to take pole position after his time was deleted in Friday's Grand Prix qualifying session. Verstappen then back to his first run time, which left him 6th on the grid, and his response, it's going to make Sunday more fun. He hasn't had any wheel-to-wheel contests so far, Will Charles Leclerc be able to offer any sort of defence for him? It's looking unlikely on the evidence that we saw with Hamilton breezing by. We'll keep you updated as well between the lap times of the two drivers out front. Last time around, Lando Norris did a 1:42.7, Lewis Hamilton did a 1:42.1. Last time around, though, far more comparable. He's just done a 1:42.6 as they try to eke out the tyre life, and you get a good illustration there of the damage of the side pod of the Alpine. So one retirement in the Grand Prix, 4 cars who started from the pit lane. That gaggle is led by Kevin Magnussen, who's battling along with Bottas. Bottas trying to clear Albon for 13th position. Daniel Ricciardo is trying to fight his way past Zhou Guanyu as well. Here's Fernando Alonso on a recovery drive, a late lunge to the inside of turn number 12, and that's how he dispatched Logan Sargent.
Yeah, he had the DRS beforehand, and, well, we're not used to seeing the Aston run and battle with Sargent at the back, but he'll make steady progress. Whether he'll get points or not remains to be seen.
Verstappen now within DRS of the Ferrari ahead. That super effective DRS that Red Bull have had for the last couple of seasons. This is on board with Charles Leclerc. That football field themed helmet, 21st pole position in Formula 1. 21 poles, 5 Grand Prix victories, and a 3-time champion of the world all over the back of the car. Surely just a matter of time before he's able to force his way through. This Ferrari has been updated throughout the season. It has been capable over 1 lap, but the Achilles heel of tyre wear remains, and it's a problem they will want to get on top of ahead of the 2024 season.
Yeah, I think that he's very much driving to their targets. You can just hear the long off throttle in that slow speed section. They're just desperately trying not to spin up the tyres.
Russell is going off a lot.
Well, that's a swap around of what we heard yesterday when it was a Mercedes driver accusing a Red Bull driver. It's Hamilton and Verstappen at the start of the sprint yesterday in the Grand Prix. It's Perez who will be really desperate to climb his way back into contention. He's had a torrid couple of races in Japan and in Qatar. Scored more points in the sprint yesterday than he had done the entire last 2 Grand Prix weekends.
It just really looks like Leclerc's starting to struggle with those tires. I mean, we saw a little bit of this yesterday in the sprint, but it was with Sainz on the softs. They go through this graining period, then they seem to plateau off again, become a little bit more drivable. But right now, with how close Max is to the back of the Ferrari, I expect a good opportunity down here into 12. You see that gap between the leader and Verstappen, 6.1. That's going up right now, so Max needs to get it done. You know, we talked to Christian Horner on the grid, and that's what he said. This car's good in clean air. We need to get up front, dispatch of these cars ahead of us, and try to put the chase on to Norris. But it's not entirely going to plan as that gap continues to grow.
Yeah, I think Max would have hoped that having got onto the back of Leclerc, he could try and get past him sooner rather than later. You see that Leclerc very much controlling the pace here, and that's allowing Sainz to come back onto the gearbox of Verstappen. You'll get the benefit of DRS. So they're very much driving to their tyre temperatures. And that's what you hear them being very gentle on throttle application. You don't want to spin up the tyre and get a peak of surface temperature, because that just takes, you know, several corners, if not a lap, to bring that back under control again.
And similarly with the front tires, you can see they're all being very sort of ginger with their inputs, their hands. There's no sudden inputs. Even in the fast section, they're being a little bit more careful, as we see Max go a little bit wide there in turn 1, probably just not wanting to put a bunch of lock in, create that slip, and rocket those surface temperatures. So it is a little bit of a chess match right now. And again, the benefit of being within a second is you get that DRS on the straights. The disadvantage is you are losing so much downforce. You're working those tires so much harder, especially in this first sector here. So it is all a balancing act at this point.
He looks a little further back than maybe he was the lap before. Let's see, we'll get DRS. But yeah, it doesn't, on the basis of the previous lap, look like there's enough of an offset from that distance for him to get a pass done down into turn 12.
So, Lando Norris, our race leader, told about Plan A. Plan A we expect to be a 2-stop with the window for the stoppers opening around 14. And we're currently on lap 10 of 56. Now look to extend for as long as possible. Pierre Gasly is showing as having climbed up to 8th position, and here's the reason why. Oscar Piastri ailing on the racetrack.
Oscar, recharge on and no full pedal. We need big lifts. I'm afraid we've got to retire the car.
One McLaren, the star of the previous Grand Prix weekend, Oscar Piastri, a rookie winner of a sprint race. The Australian driver coming back to the pits to retire, and McLaren having a great time of it in recent races, scoring for fun, but one of their cars is out, and that is nervy moments for the car in the lead. Lando Norris will be told of that, and he has a 3-second advantage over Lewis Hamilton. He has a 6-second advantage over Max Verstappen, but Oscar Piastri is out.
A few cars diving into pit lane there, and if I am the McLaren team, I'm not telling Norris that unless there's something he needs to do on the steering wheel, an adjustment he needs to make to a switch or a sensor, because that is not information the race leader wants to hear right now.
You do hear the drivers saying on the big screen time and time again, oh, who is that? Who's pulling in? So, mate, and there's a lot of big screens around here. Now, this was all caused by Zhou Guanyu coming into the pits one lap ago. It's a domino effect. Ruth Buscombe, the strategist at Alfa Romeo, got 2 cars into the points last time out in the Qatar Grand Prix by going early, by triggering the round of pit stops, and she's tried the same thing again today. Joe currently P15, but that's why we had the flurry of cars into the pit lane. Charles Leclerc leaving a car's width for Max Verstappen. Off the road he goes. Verstappen will apply it flat to the floor, and still they go side by side. Can Verstappen turn it into a traction race? He goes around the outside of the Ferrari. He takes 3rd place in the Grand Prix, and he sits up and he sets up his bid for victory as he finally is able to take the position. But Charles Leclerc looks like he doesn't want to give it up. The racing instinct is hard, but he's got no chance to fight back.
Yeah, we just caught the very end of that, didn't we, as he was diving on the brakes. And he had to work hard for it with the DRS. Offsetting speed, as we know, the Ferrari pretty quick, even in their non-DRS mode. But at any moment there, I was expecting to see a little puff of smoke and the Brendel go airborne.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, obviously Leclerc had to go all the way off several car widths wide of the track limits marked on the exit of turn 12 there. Is that considered forcing a driver off? Let's see the onboard here. This is going to tell us a lot.
Wow, a long way back.
Yeah, it was. Little defense here. Both on the brakes. You're just sort of rolling off the brake pedal at this point, aren't you? And Max is
just kept
on the
car
track.
on, yeah, just kept it on track. But if you were the guy on the outside and I was the guy on the outside, we'd think, well, he kind of pushed me, but I think crucially he'll get away with it because he kept the wheel inside the line.
He kept the wheel inside the line, and also they were still neck and neck heading into 13. You know, Charles did a good job of unwinding the wheel, rolling on the power, getting a good exit. They were side by side into 13, and Max just able to roll it around the outside. And now we will keep an eye on the lap times of the 3-time champion to see, can he start closing that 7+ second gap to the leader? It's still hovering at about 7.5. So in that clean air up front, Norris doing a great job managing the gap to Hamilton and also his tires right now as we're getting close to the window opening for those medium tires.
So I think summary of that is hard but fair with that nice little battle between Verstappen and Leclerc. And interestingly, it's almost like Max, you expected now he's got the pass done that he would have gapped them, but the Ferraris are still there.
Again, I don't know how many times he already went off. He already had 5 seconds.
They're going back, they are losing lap times for him.
So Perez, as Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far and gets the gap down to 2.6 seconds. So Hamilton has been attacking all the way through this stint, and Mercedes will be encouraged. Lewis Hamilton, a 103-time Grand Prix winner, looking to extend that record today. And it's Norris, Hamilton and Verstappen up front in the top 3. Ferrari have the 1-lap pace in Formula 1, with pole position here for the last 2 years in the Grand Prix, but not over the race distance, and they look like they might be in a private battle amongst themselves.
And crucially, that first lap of clean air for Max Verstappen, once he got around the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, was still 4/10 off of Lando Norris up front. So it's not like, as you said, DC, he's not just running away from the Ferraris and closing that gap, as we see the hometown guy, Logan Sargent, trying to line up the home team guy, Kevin Magnussen.
Looking for the way by, Logan Sargent. Oh. 2 liveries of the Stars and Stripes nearly meeting in the middle. Sargent will know. Kevin Magnussen gives you no easy passes. Had the move, had the momentum, but couldn't take it. At least he got a bit of screen time, though, for Williams, the driver trying to get an extension on his contract, the last seat remaining in Formula 1 2024. His teammate up the road in 15th. Sargent will regroup and come again. Sargent, who's made his stop, he's on new hard tyres, and Magnussen has done the same again, so this is a legitimate battle for position, and he will get DRS, so it's close up front, and it's close further down the field as well. We're staying with it all the time. The Florida man trying to go around the outside. Sargent moves ahead, and nicely done. In his second home Grand Prix of the year, Sargent moves up to 17th.
Yeah, I think even if they had to go side by side into the corner again, Sargent wasn't going to be quite as nice as he was in turn one, allowing Kevin Magnussen to just roll the outside like that and keep the position. But he didn't have to do it. Enough straight line speed in that Williams to have him cleared before they even got to the brake zone. So nicely executed there from Logan Sargent.
Out front, Lewis Hamilton has got the gap down to 2.1 seconds. Last time around, he was half a second quicker than Lando Norris out front. We are at the beginnings of the pit window opening. It's not a mandatory window. If you're one of our newer fans to Formula 1, it is the best possible opportunity now. You want to eat the strategy out for as long as possible, but this is the viable time to come into the pits. Who goes for the early benefit of fresh rubber?
Yeah, it's all a case of where you come out in traffic, and by my calculation, Hamilton, if he's trying to do the undercut, could find himself behind Tsunoda just in front of Ricardo, and that's all fine and well with fresh tyres, except if you're coming out right into that sequence of the first section and you just can't use them, you're having to follow the leader. So this is an interesting time, which isn't as clear-cut as it may appear in terms of doing the undercut. It's about, right, where is the gap in the traffic to utilise the outlap?
Clear air is king. I mean, that's really what it's all about. All the strategists, engineers on pit wall are looking at exactly that thing right now. But Hamilton has definitely closed that gap up quite a bit. It's about a 20-second loss to pit here, give or take. So you kind of have to look down the order to see where cars are going to come out on track, because you do not want to be in a line of traffic when you come out on new tires.
Lando Norris has led more laps for McLaren today than the entirety of the 2023 season. A reminder for you that this McLaren was struggling to get out of Q1 at the start of the year. They had to write off the opening 8 races of the season. They chucked out their old car design. They had to live with it. And for a proud team with the second most wins in Formula 1 history, that was not a pleasant experience. The update has worked. Lando Norris is the second highest point scorer since the Austrian Grand Prix, and as Lewis Hamilton wide there into turn 11, trying to hunt down his countryman, trying to steal away first place. Both of them will know as well, any sort of battle they have on track invites Max Verstappen to the party, and they'll be wary of that at the moment. 6.5 seconds. Max Verstappen is behind Lando Norris on track.
Again, just looking at the running order there, Leclerc 1.6 behind Verstappen, he stayed very much with him. So it's almost like the Ferrari were managing the tyres a bit more than the Red Bull in the early stage of the race, and now they're starting to feel more comfortable to push on, and that may well explain why Charles looked like he really defended hard. It was almost like he was psychologically just a lap or two away from being able to use more of the performance of that car.
So McLaren now with a viable opportunity to contend for the win. Lando Norris driving superbly. This is a great response from the British driver after he was beaten to the sprint race victory by his rookie teammate. Piastri out early on, and Esteban Ocon out as well. Bianca Bustamante, part of the F1 Academy, has been signed to the McLaren development program, and all of the F1 Academy teams that have been racing here this weekend will have an affiliation with a driver in that championship for next year.
I don't know what's going on in 8 and 10, 9, but I'm struggling a lot with the balance. Okay, we're on it.
Well, could that be wins? It's just at the end of the sequence of that first series of corners, so as he comes over the rise there.
Yeah, it could certainly be. Because like you say, it's sort of down in a dip there as you come through the long right-hander, 6, 7, and then through 8, the left-hander, it really compresses, comes up, and then peaks right at the apex of turn 9. It could just expose you to a headwind there or a tailwind, and have a huge effect on the balance.
We go on board with Sergio Perez, who's been on the radio time and time again saying that George Russell has been off the road. We have seen 2 laps deleted for George Russell on our timing page in the commentary box. You get to 3, you get a warning, the black and white flag. You get to 4, you get a 5-second penalty.
Lando, try and avoid the curb through there. The wind is inconsistent, which might be what you're feeling.
There you go, DC. Nailed it.
Yeah, my hair was all over the place out there on the grid before the start of the race, so I was having, that wind was affecting me, so I'm rather surprised it's affecting the cars.
You did see Kimi Raikkonen spin late on that section of the racetrack a few years ago. Red Bull venture into the pit lane. Who do they invite in first? Will it be Max Verstappen?
It is.
And he peels off before turn 20 and lines up. He goes first, trying to force the hand of Hamilton and Norris ahead. A reminder for you, he was 6.4 seconds away from Lando Norris before he's gone for this undercut. He's gone for the fresh rubber first, and he will come out behind his teammate, behind Pierre Gasly, and behind the junior team. That's Yuki Tsunoda going through, out ahead of Daniel Ricciardo as he brings those tyres into the temperature window. 2.5 second stop.
Well, behind, I guess, well, you consider that he's the meat and the sandwich of friendlies. That's part of the sister team of Red Bull. So a bit of fresh air as well in that first sequence of corners. So in terms of taking the gamble when you know you're coming out in traffic, this is working pretty well for Max.
Yeah, nice advantage knowing that you can slot in between, as you say, friendlies. There's definitely a message down to the pit wall at AlphaTauri right now saying, hey, just keep your eyes open for what's coming up behind you.
I don't think there's any need for that call to be sent on the red phone. They know who pays them at the end of the month. Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc and Sainz is the order at the moment. Russell in 4th, but Max Verstappen triggering the sequence of pit stops for those at the front of the field. It is a 2-stop race. We're about to see the first of them, surely, and Norris or Hamilton. Go on, Hitch.
Obviously, if you stop on the sooner side, you're going to have to make that up with a longer stint later, but that's a risk that the Red Bulls can take as we see Norris dive into pit lane because they are so much better on their tires as he's using every inch of pit lane coming in. You see Ferrari calling in Sainz as well, so this is a good call from Red Bull.
Yeah, and McLaren here, can they deliver another 1.8? That would give them a handy 6/10 over what Red Bull just delivered. They did a 2.5.
It's a 2.8 this time. So after the world record effort last time out of the Qatar Grand Prix, 0.3 of a second slower, and out goes Sainz. 2.5 for the Ferrari driver. Sergio Perez in the pits as well. Yuki Tsunoda in the pits, and we wait to see what sort of outlap it has been. Norris has track position still over Max Verstappen. They've covered off the world champion. The world champion now has Pierre Gasly in 5th. Just one car between him and Lando Norris as Sergio Perez rejoins the racetrack. Very tight through here, very tight through here between the two of them. Oh, and the Aston Martin had to yield, and through ahead goes Carlos Sainz. Didn't want to mess around with Fernando Alonso, who's yet to stop. The two Spaniards going wheel to wheel for a couple of corners.
It's still going to cost him several tenths of a second on that lap, on that outlap, and it's so crucial in these green flag pit cycles to make sure your in and out laps are fire fast.
Hamilton has been instructed target +4, could be on a 1-stop.
Bold strategy if that's the case. Look over at DC, his eyes are very wide as he tries to compute that one in his head.
Well, if he is, unless he falls off the cliff, which was an expression we used to use a lot more in Formula 1, as we've got Perez here. Well, that's an absolute straightforward DRS fresh tyre overtake as he's just come out of the pits. But yeah, if Hamilton is on a 1-stop, then yeah, I think we're looking at a winner because he's got good enough pace, and we haven't seen any indications here that they're getting to a point where the tyres just bail right off the end.
Yesterday we ran 19 laps. That's where the data ends for the teams out there, and it's at this point.
Data ends and optimism begins.
But they are querying whether it's a 1-stop for Lewis Hamilton, a 5-time winner around this circuit, a 6-time winner of the US Grand Prix.
Lewis, do you think you've got another 5 laps on this tyre? Do you reckon you could handle it?
No, I'm not sure, man. It's pretty tough.
Okay.
Well, he's just, what, almost 2 seconds slower than Verstappen's opening lap there in clean air. So that's what he's dealing with.
They need to respond pretty quickly. Mercedes, I think they've already made their choice because Verstappen is getting 0.7 of a second away from being inside the pit loss time for Lewis Hamilton. So have Mercedes decided to extend that stint? Fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes to the three-time world champion, man trying to score a half-century of victories today. And Max Verstappen, you can see now, 20.6 seconds away from Lewis Hamilton. That would be a fine margin pit stop pressure for the Mercedes team, who have surely decided to extend things. There's here from the other one.
George, can you let us know, do you think there's another 5 laps left in this tyre?
Yep.
Pretty contrasting responses there from the two Mercedes drivers on the same question about the same tire. But just looking at some of these outlaps, just comparing Verstappen to Norris to Sainz, Verstappen about 0.7 of a second faster on his outlap than the other two. As we see a replay here down into turn 11, Lewis Hamilton, big lockup. You can see why he's saying he doesn't know if there's 5 laps left in this.
Well, just is the wind behind him at that point? Because that's a very sort of characteristic mistake. No, it doesn't look like it. That's the wind's partially on the nose, which is normally happy days for a race driver. It just means that the airspeed over the wings is faster, and it gives you more downforce for the same track speed.
Another great break there for Max Verstappen as the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso, right as he catches him, dives into pit lane, freeing him up again for some more clean air. Let's see what kind of time the Aston crew can get. So it's sort of been a 2.5 second day in the first round of stops across a lot of the teams.
Two-time world champion back out onto the circuit, finished 7th here last year after an airborne collision with his now teammate Lance Stroll. That's a slow stop for the Haas team.
Slow stop.
Light up the rear tyres as they rejoin. They're not having an easy home race last year. Kevin Magnussen scored their best ever result here with P9. They've got a vastly upgraded car, but they don't quite understand it at the moment. It's not their best pit stop of the year so far. So Max Verstappen now easily inside of Hamilton's pit loss time.
Now inside our pit window. No man. I'm struggling out here.
So Hamilton unhappy to hear that information. They have gone to extend the stint, but they have lost track position when they make their pit stop to Verstappen, and that really, and now he's been told, so he's extended the stint, but but Verstappen will come out, all things being normal for Verstappen, ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and Mercedes will be scratching their heads at that one. Of course, he'll have fresher tyres at the end of the stint.
I was just about to go and say, look, he's the great pretender. This is all part of their script. They've got it under control. And this could be the masterstroke, but indeed...
Here's the change.
Yeah, there you go. He's behind as they run out of the pit lane. That was Verstappen into turn 1. Q, a little bit of frustrated Hamilton, I'm sure, at this point, but a lot of Grand Prix racing left.
There is a lot of Grand Prix racing left. Worth looking at the tyres the drivers are on at the moment. Lewis Hamilton is on the hard. Lando Norris, race leader for much of this Grand Prix, on the hard tyre. Max Verstappen is on the medium. They've gone back-to-back with the mediums to try and clear the 2 cars ahead of them before that pit stop window. As you see the move there for Pierre Gasly getting past the Haas. And that was a simple one for him. This is Sainz now laid on the brakes, claiming a 6th position in the order.
It's an interesting call from Red Bull to put Max on back-to-back mediums, as we see.
The 2 Brits about to go wheel to wheel, and that's a simple one, a simple difference in strategies. George Russell is a 1-time Grand Prix winner. How Lando Norris would love to join him today, but clean, efficient passes are vital. He's going to keep that man behind.
So normally in this sort of situation, you have to run 2 different compounds in the race. And so you think, okay, you start on the mediums, let's run the hards, and then you can make an educated guess over which tire you think's the right one for the final stint. What Red Bull's done here is they've gone medium. They went for that softer of the 2 compounds for this pit cycle to try to close that gap, try to gain that track position on Lando Norris, and then they can kind of dictate the pace from the front on the hards later.
That was so far behind. Yeah, copy, we are just offsetting.
So Hamilton being told that they're just trying to do something different. They're just trying to have fresher tyres at the end of the stint. But they've lost track position to a driver trying to win his 15th Grand Prix of the year. As we look at turn 1 now. So George Russell, where is he going to exit in this order? And there you go, Sergio Perez has been able to jump him. the driver who was so frustrated in that opening stint. So Mercedes extending it with both cars. They put both cars on the same strategy in Singapore. It gave them a great chance to win the race. Ultimately, it didn't pay off. They didn't have the opportunity. They've put both cars on the same strategy again today. And you could hear the concern in Lewis Hamilton's voice that he's so far behind. Will they get the payback later on when Max Verstappen has to run the hard tyre, or will he be running and hiding?
That's a great thing, isn't it? We just don't know as we go on board with Lewis. Lines his car up beautifully. Front right took a little while to come off, which therefore meant front right took a little while to go back on, and 3.6 full seconds slower than the sort of average pit stops, which is, that just adds to the distance when you go back out on track. So that's why it is so important. And I can relate to Lewis's maybe a little bit frustration at this stage of the race.
Don't go that way, Pierre Gasly. Very nearly turned into the defensive shape. That's a good move. Oh, it would have been if he could make it stick. But Gasly has to see the door closed in his face, and George Russell shows him the elbow, shows him the curb, and keeps the position for the moment. Gasly's had a tidy weekend all the way through, and that Alpine in low reaches of the points. But Gasly, who improved back into the top 10 of the championship yesterday with his result in the sprint, finds himself racing George Russell once again. And Russell, this is not Russell territory, really. He doesn't seem to have the feel of this circuit in a way that he does at others in comparison. Wow, it's an incredible benchmark in Lewis Hamilton, but we haven't really seen the giant-killing performances in the Williams or a comparable result in the Mercedes. He's got a racetrack coming up in Brazil where he became a Grand Prix winner this time last year.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Some drivers just don't connect with certain tracks, and I think I can relate to that a little bit in terms of my own distant memory of racing career. I don't know if that was ever an issue for yourself. It was a tracks where you just went there and you thought, I own this racetrack, watch this, and those other tracks you're going, this doesn't fit with my driving style.
Yeah, there's a handful, I think, at the beginning of each calendar that you'd circle as the ones you're really excited about, and ones that you think, all right, let's just damage control here. I think that's pretty universal for drivers. And, you know, on the grid, Zach Brown said that for Lando Norris, it's his favorite track, and it's working out for him so far.
It's quite a difficult thing to explain to people, though, isn't it?
Lando, our race is with Verstappen. He's gone medium, so has to stop again. We think plan B. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a one.
Wow, now.
Wow.
That's a one-er, isn't it?
That certainly sounds like it.
Well, stay tuned, because the one thing we know in a battle between a two-stop and a one-stop is that they get decided towards the end of the Grand Prix, as into the pits comes Charles Leclerc. This is going to be intriguing. They don't believe, Mercedes and McLaren, they can beat Red Bull in a two-stop straight fight, so they've gone for the alternative strategy.
I mean, it looks like they're not the only ones having that thought. This is an interesting way to play this card for Ferrari. I don't hate this, because you're right. On a straight-up fight, they're not going to do it. The problem is tire degradation's been their Achilles heel all year, even with the updates that they brought a few races back. So making these hards last the rest of the Grand Prix is not going to be an easy task. And there's been very little running on this compounded tire over the weekend.
Well, I guess where they're banking on is track becomes a little bit more rubbered in. As the Grand Prix goes on, fuel burns off, car becomes lighter. So, and on a hard compound, everything is aiming towards the tire, being able to take those longer distances. But you've still got to be able to do the lap time as Fernando Alonso finds his way, not even having to go off the racing line. Benefit of DRS against the Alpha, he slots it down the inside. Slots it down the outside.
He's a driver who's run two sets of mediums as well, so we know he is on a two-stopper. Here is our race leader, Lando Norris, got within 3 laps of winning the Russian Grand Prix in 2021. Well, the rain came that day, denied him an opportunity. They had to make a call for the strategy. He stayed out, it wasn't the right one, and he suffered the cruel moment of things slipping through his fingers. There's his dad, Adam, watching on. He's 100th Grand Prix start today. Same applies to George Russell, but it's Lando Norris hoping for his day of days as he reaches a century in Formula One. And there's nothing like the motivation of seeing your teammate, your rookie teammate, take the checkered flag first, last time out. You are watching a response drive from Lando Norris, wants to reassert his authority, wants to be the team leader for McLaren. There's been a lot of talk about the second seat at Red Bull. Red Bull openly, for years, have said to Lando, come on over, we'd love to have you. Lando Norris wants to fight for McLaren.
With the same strategy as Russell behind, with a hard.
Hard is not looking too bad. If we look at Hamilton running in third right now, 41.0 last time around, Verstappen 41.2 on the medium, 40.9 for Norris on the hard. It's delivering a lap time.
I mean, 0.3 quicker than Verstappen on the medium for Norris. So this is really starting to look like it could pay off. You got to remember, not only does Max have to get by him, he's got to get by him and pull out 20 seconds plus in order for this to work.
This is Lando Norris heading to turn 11 of the racetrack. We've seen a couple of lockups for Lewis Hamilton there at that corner. Now we see one for our race leader.
Yeah, again, just looking at wind direction, it's you know, partially across the nose, so difficult to understand why they're having that difficulty on that particular corner. But you know, you just do not want to get repeated under rotation, and then you can get a flat spot, and then before you know it, you're having to tip because you've got vibration.
So Max Verstappen chasing down Lando Norris for track position, but could he have to? Whoa, that's a late lunge for Alex Albon, who dives to the inside of Zhou Guanyu. We caught it late, we saw the move. He keeps all four wheels on the racetrack. Fine way to take the place and move up to 11th.
That was as brave as you want to get down into turn 12. Excellent move there, now defensive into turn 16 for Albon. That was a really late lunge, but well executed.
Yeah, he'll spend the next few corners bringing his heart rate down. Because when you suddenly have such a massive offset in the braking zone, it's like a small doubt of, have I misjudged this?
1.1 seconds between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris out front. Here's Lewis Hamilton.
So we can use these tyres. Norris pushing more in.
Hamilton, you can hear in his voice that he is pushing on the racetrack. Lando Norris has 11 podium finishes in Formula One, but never a victory. The record for most podiums without a win is 13. Belongs to Nick Heidfeld, a racer for many a times. Bit of a correction there for Max Verstappen. Lando Norris doesn't want to get anywhere near that record. He wants his 100th Grand Prix start to be his best day in motor racing. He's going to have to take that tyre a very long way to the end. We're about to go driver's eye view with the man, we're on board with the driver, Lando Norris, who's trying to claim that win today, but he's going to do it on a different strategy to Max Verstappen. One thing we've seen in Lando's career, time and time again, why he's been able to score those 11 podiums, he is a master of picking the right battles at the right time. We know that Norris and the driver chasing him down are good friends off track. We haven't really ever seen them go wheel to wheel at the sharp end in Formula One when it really matters. Verstappen chasing 50 Grand Prix wins, Lando Norris chasing his maiden one on different strategies. How hard does Lando fight?
Well, there's nothing quite like an on-track battle for the lead of a Grand Prix to test a friendship. We're just about to see. Well, you know, I think the answer is knowing that he potentially is on a one-stop. You don't want to overfight because you don't want to take the risk of, you know, getting those tyres damaged, where right now Verstappen knows he has to go.
There was a small mistake, I think, from Norris on the previous lap. I guess 2 laps ago. He was 1.2 seconds slower than Verstappen. That's what allowed Max to get within that DRS range. Only about 0.3 difference last lap, but now Max is well within that bubble. He's going to keep getting that assistance on the straightaway. So this is very good news for Max, but at the same time, to your point, DC, you can't get caught up in this battle. You've got to think about your own race. Right now, Lando Norris is racing himself and the 4 Pirellis on each corner. He cannot get too caught up in keeping Max behind.
Give me a hell of a gap to close. Yeah, copy loose. Just see what we can do.
Yeah, but he's doing a good job. Lewis Hamilton, 41.4, 4 times quicker than Verstappen's lap last time around, which, did he have DRS last time around?
He
or
did.
he just picked it up? Yeah. So DRS obviously helps that lap time as well. So Verstappen will now be losing a little bit of time as he's in the dirty air of Norris. And, well, a bit too far back, I think, to take a lunge up into turn 1. So we're going to have to wait until he exits 11 again.
How long does this take for Max Verstappen? He can afford to be patient, but he does have the task we believe, of making 20 seconds up on the driver ahead, on the driver that he personally rates so highly. Verstappen, three-time champion of the world, and he's been consistently winning in the USA. He's seeking a 5th consecutive win in this country, one earlier on this season in Miami, contending for victory today, and we have a 3rd Grand Prix in the USA for the first time since the 1980s when we visit Vegas at the end of next month. But now, Verstappen just staying in the wheel tracks, in the slipstream. We'll watch the exit off the corner as he tries to line up the pass to turn 6th on the grid to P1 in the race.
Norris is doing a good job off these tight corners. He's getting the car rotated, and that's making it difficult for Max. He will gain a lot just as we come into this braking zone. Is he going to take a lunge?
He goes for it. He goes to the inside, and Norris thinks about his own race. He tries to come back now. Side by side they go, and to the apex first gets Max Verstappen, who has the lead on track, and now he's got to build a 20-second gap and come back against Lando Norris, who's trying to respond. So much speed gained in the closing distance there. Norris tries to stay with him, but it's hard when you've got the aero wash from the car in front, when you're changing direction at that sort of speed. Max Verstappen is the race leader. It took 28 laps, but he went medium. Norris is on the hard. Is Norris going to the end?
I don't know if he went off or not. Hard to see from my side.
I don't think it matters. I don't think, based on what we've seen race control doing, they're going to be at all worried about anything that just happened there. So now he's just got to, again, focus on keeping those tires beneath him. It's Max that's really still got the hard job here, trying to get that kind of gap. But we didn't see a massive performance delta in those tires up to this point. Let's take another look. It is from far back, but we know Max doesn't mind taking a stab at it.
We saw Charles Leclerc have a similar thing, didn't we, when Max went through against him, and just so much speed in the final meters.
Yeah, well, I think from that overhead we can see Verstappen didn't go off. So Lando came with the cut back and made him have to work for it into 13. He was actually ahead, wasn't he, as he entered that corner, but the inside line too powerful.
But you also just know Max Verstappen on the inside, he is just going to make sure you're out on the green paint there. So it was probably a very smart move, as you see teammate Oscar Piastri now watching from pit wall. Unfortunately, his Grand Prix came to an early end. Little battle here, Logan Sargent and Daniel Ricciardo, 13th and 14th.
It's worth saying that Lando Norris did manage to keep DRS, which is useful for him, just to try and stay with Verstappen for a couple of laps. Aids his tyre usage as well. He's just about to drop out of DRS, but at least for a couple of miles, he was able to stay with Verstappen, who has the task now of showing us what the RB19 can really do. And that has been a question all season long. Can Verstappen light up the timing page, build the gap? He's got 1 second over Lando Norris. He needs 19 more and a clean pit stop. Norris and Hamilton pushing it much further. It is 4.6 seconds between Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, second and third lane.
Here's the thing. Verstappen 41.5, we've got Hamilton on that hard 41.1. So he's actually pulling in Verstappen, who's leading this Grand Prix. It looks like the medium tyre is not allowing Max the confidence to really push on and try and open out that gap. So I think that suggests that when he does make his stop, would that make them want to take the soft and really sprint it out at the end, because he's going to be behind?
Or do you commit to the hard earlier? Let's get the hard on. It's obviously a decent pace in that tire, and right now, you got to remember, we talk about this 20-second gap to Norris, fine, but he's got to have 20 seconds over everybody. So right now, if he pits, he's coming out behind Leclerc in 6th. He's falling all the way down there. You've got to pass all those cars as well as close the gap. So it's a difficult task.
What not going to go to?
Extend for now. Extend. That's the best bet.
What lap is extend, Ricky? Be clear.
Switch Sierra. Switch Sierra last 2.
Always enjoy hearing Carlos Sainz saying, no, let's have another go. I need the information.
Still gave it to him in code, but different languages and codes. But I understand, as a driver, you know what it's like. You see from inside the car, those kind of vague responses from pit wall can sometimes be very frustrating, because the difference between 10 more laps and 12 more laps, it's a lot from behind the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's where Ferrari I think it's a fair observation that they haven't always been as clear to the drivers. You know, Charles Leclerc and the Friday qualifying, when they started with a track infringement without giving him Verstappen's name first. He thought they were telling him he got the infringement. He said, give me the name first. Don't tell me there's an infringement.
Lando Norris is still within DRS of Max Verstappen. He has clung to the tail of Max Verstappen for a couple of laps here, and that's all beneficial. The rear wing element opening up, more speed on the straights.
Yeah, Max isn't pulling away.
Track limits, Verstappen, second first corner.
Okay.
And he's not making those mediums work particularly well. Look at the super wide there in 11. I mean, if you look at the lap times, I'm now paying more attention to Norris versus Hamilton, the lap times within a tenth of a second, because I think, guys, that's going to be the race for the win now. This does not seem to be working for Red Bull. Strategic error in putting on those mediums.
They tried to get the track position. That was the aim of putting the medium tyre on back-to-back. It worked devastatingly well for them yesterday. There was a little bit of despondency after the 19 laps around the press room yesterday that we knew what we were going to get. But oh no, we didn't. Formula One races are not won on paper. They're won as a team effort with exquisite driving skill and clever strategy. This is fascinatingly poised at the moment. Lap 31 of 56. Lando Norris not being dropped. He's now outside a second. Verstappen, if he wants that milestone today, he's going to have to dig super deep, but he will get new tyres. He will be able to push on, while Norris and Hamilton have to take those tyres a very long way. You're looking at the top two. There's the driver closing in, third place, dreaming of ending his longest winless streak in his entire Formula One career.
Yeah, I think now, for Verstappen to win this race with another pit stop, he needs for McLaren and Mercedes to run out of hard tyres, because they're matching him lap time wise. He's just not breaking away. He's well aware of the challenge ahead, but that's the lap time he's able to deliver right now.
This is not what was expected, I think, is the headline.
That's just it. I mean, you look at the pre-race strategy reports, there are 3 different two-stop strategies that were simulated to be faster than the best one-stop, as we see a pretty easy, straightforward pass here from the Haas on the Williams.
Yeah, Hulkenberg, we were talking about the picture for the race lead, but Hulkenberg has gone past a couple of cars there in a couple of laps. First of all, Daniel Ricciardo was cleared at turn 12. Next time around, going past Logan Sargent and up to 12th position. Not bad stuff for Hulkenberg, who is currently on the medium tyre. He's run both compounds after that pit lane start, with Haas changing the level of downforce on the car, but the cars are in parc fermé conditions where you're not allowed to change anything unless it's the same specification. They changed it. It meant a pit lane start. Hulkenberg is fighting back through on the medium rubber. Next car up the road is Lance Stroll, who also started in the pit lane with him, and Alonso currently occupying 10th position, but Alonso has only run the medium, so he needs to make a second stop.
I'd love to know what the conversation is between the Red Bull pit wall and Max Verstappen. I can't believe they're just driving this out in silence, because the knowledge that, again, we've got Max was only a few tenths quicker than Norris on that lap, 3 tenths quicker than Hamilton. He's going to be behind. He's going to be behind after the stop.
So Verstappen will get this hard tyre, fresher hard tyre. When will they decide to get rid of the medium that is becoming less and less effective?
And a lock up there into 11. I almost think you got to cut your losses, DC. Get in and now, put on those hards. They seem to be lasting. They seem to have the pace as well.
But just looking at where that's going to put him, he'll come out behind Leclerc, just in front of Russell.
I just don't see another option at this point. You know, 33 laps in. It's getting close to only 20 laps left to get it done, and you can't, with a string of cars in front of you, pull out 20 seconds in 20 laps, or make up 20 seconds in 20 laps. So it's all sort of coming undone. But again, this is the risk you take when you don't fulfill the tire requirements on that first stop. That's a lot of teams probably went into this race thinking it was a two-stop strategy, but the most traditional one is go mediums, go hards in the middle, the mediums at the end. Now, with what you're seeing on track, I think a lot of them are switching. So the cars that did do medium, we see Sainz did the same thing, Perez did the same thing. You mentioned Alonso, Alex. So a few of these drivers also thought for sure it's a two-stopper. And I'm sure that there's more thought that going in, but have had to pivot.
Yeah, Norris, that was a poor lap for him, 42.8. Hamilton 1.2 quicker. So Hamilton is hunting down the McLaren, and well, once he gets into that DRS zone, if Norris is having a bit of difficulty on the hard, we didn't see anything on screen to suggest a big mistake.
Making brakes are so compared to yesterday. What a piece of
Understood.
Max Verstappen under pressure. There's the radio message to tell you.
Yeah, well, sprint weekends, you are allowed, even in parc fermé conditions, to change the brakes. So there's a different set of pads and discs, and he's just not happy with them. Well, that's taken us a little while to get that information. That may explain why we're seeing lockups, which I can't remember the last time I saw Verstappen lock up this season. It's a replay of one of those instances.
Yeah, it is so fascinating how a different set of brakes can have such a different feel through the pedal for the driver. And you know, as we watch a replay here, it was Hamilton.
It was a replay. We're back
to
the onboard of Hamilton closing down. What an incredible Grand Prix we have in prospect here.
It's more like Norris is coming to you.
You're not racing Max at this point, fella. You're worried about Lando. Keep your eye on that McLaren because he is chasing him down still. Another couple tenths quicker on that last lap.
We saw it at the end of the stint, the first part, and in comes Lando Norris. Lando Norris comes into the pits, all of the expectation of a one-stop, and suddenly the British driver abandons that plan. They were thinking of plan B, but they didn't execute it. And Norris dives for early fresh rubber to change the entire complexion of the Grand Prix.
Okay, well, this puts us in a situation as he's going to come out there behind Leclerc, who's just going into turn one. Then if Hamilton can do a one-stop, he's our winner, based on this. But is Hamilton about to run out of tyres?
This is so unlike anything we've seen across the entirety of Formula One 2023. A strategic race with brilliant talents out front, all at different stages of their careers. Lando Norris gives up the track position and the opportunity for the fresher rubber. McLaren again make the strategic call. They were faced with one in Russia 2021. Then it cost them the chance of victory. Norris now has a chance to go on the front foot. Verstappen and Hamilton are separated by 6.1 seconds in the Grand Prix. Verstappen definitely still needs to stop. Verstappen has beaten Lewis Hamilton to the last two US Grand Prix in a row. Are we going to see them do battle once again? Norris, Verstappen, the gap, 23.1 out there. And in he comes.
Pits. Yeah, well, that answers how far he was prepared to take those tyres. And, right, he gives a little drift as he enters the pit lane. He'll be looking for a 2-second stop.
Hit the marks. The team goes to work. It's slow, slower than he would have wanted. 3.3 is not a disaster.
It's going to be tight with the two of them coming out of pit lane. It was a 23-second gap when Verstappen pulled in. Now look, now Carlos Sainz rather in, and you can see there's Lando off the last corner. Where's Max right now?
Verstappen takes the pit lane limiter off. We'll have to bring those tyres into temperature. They're hard tyres, so they'll take a little while to fire up as well. He's got track position over Lando Norris, and that is all that matters for him. McLaren elected to put fresh rubber on the car. Are they going to keep Lewis Hamilton out? But McLaren gave up the track position. Red Bull responded, and it was a 3-second stop, but it was enough for him to get out ahead of the British driver, and Max Verstappen has cleared one Brit. What about the other one? Lando Norris will be giving everything on this lap. He knows he's got to get inside the 1-second window on this Max Verstappen out lap.
Yeah, it looks now that, well, now that McLaren have shown that they couldn't or didn't have the confidence to take that as a one-stopper, that surely Mercedes will have to stop again. Looked like Max rolled the car in very gently, you know, as he didn't put the guys under any pressure, but that left rear, you're only as good as your slowest corner, and that left rear on this occasion, well, you've been called out.
So Max Verstappen out ahead of Lando Norris. They are both behind Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez is continuing to run out there as well. And Lewis Hamilton has only made the one stop. This is so finely poised, but will McLaren regret giving up that track position? How quickly can Verstappen, where does Verstappen catch Charles Leclerc is a key question as well, because the gap is 2 seconds now. If you catch in the twisty bits, you have to follow all the way to turn 11. There is the orange papaya McLaren chasing down the Red Bull, and Max Verstappen has the advantage over Lando Norris, who has led more laps today than any other point of the season.
Verstappen about a second and a half slower on his outlap this time than he was on the last pit cycle. Got to wait for one more lap to see where that lap time is, but he is stuck behind Charles Leclerc at the moment, who is, you would assume, going to have to pit again at this point. Now I'm going to stop making assumptions, because we were very confident, DC, that this was turning into a one-stopper. McLaren said on the radio Plan B, which kind of would have indicated maybe a switch from the traditional two-stop plan, but who knows? Until Hamilton pits, we're technically still potentially right. Potentially right.
Story of my life, only ever potentially right.
I think that's going to be the title of my autobiography. Potentially right.
There's lap 37 of 56. Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc have stopped once. Verstappen with the net race lead. If Hamilton has to come in, has cleared Lando Norris, and Norris now having to go first. They went for the fresh tyre option. It's 1.8 seconds. It went up to 2 seconds a moment ago. He wasn't able on Verstappen's outlap to get within the DRS window. And Verstappen, who looked like he was struggling on the mediums, has the hards, has the ability to push all the way through to the end of the Grand Prix, which is sat in the balance. And now it's over to you, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez has come into the pits. He's just been given a 2.4 second stop, and that elevates Charles Leclerc to second, Verstappen to third, Norris to fourth. As over the line doing the fastest lap is Carlos Sainz, who came in one lap before, and he has managed to get out ahead of the Mexican driver, who heads to his home race next week. Gasly also pitting. Caught that one late, 3.3, but he's back in to the Grand Prix, looking for back-to-back points after scoring a couple yesterday in the sprint.
I don't know what it is here in Austin. All the stops are generally a bit slower than we saw in Qatar. It was like everyone, all the pit crews were supercharged in Qatar under the extreme heat, and well, maybe they've been enjoying some nights out in Austin, which is a great city, by the way, for anyone who would like to check out that. But they're all a little bit tardy on the stops.
Now let's see if Max Verstappen can repeat his trick from before and gain in the final meters to the braking zone. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do so. And now it's follow all the way through. He will get the car, and we were mentioning that. That's Carlos Sainz fighting his way past George Russell into the braking zone. And Carlos Sainz gets by. That's up to 5th position. Verstappen at Leclerc's pace at the moment through the winding section at the end. We go on board. The fast right-handers at the end of the lap as he tries to clear the Ferrari driver. Will he risk the lunge at turn 20? Will he use the DRS zone and climb up to turn 1 before making the pass? Lewis Hamilton comes in. Pivotal moment in the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton couldn't do a one-stop, and it will mean that this is now the battle for the lead, with Max Verstappen looking for the half-century of victories today. He goes to the apex first. He gets past the Ferrari, and Max Verstappen takes the lead at the US Grand Prix. He's turned 6th on the grid to the lead in the States.
It's been great, though, hasn't it? As we've been trying to figure out what's going on here, we've been on the edge of our seats, but it's all starting to play out. That 2 stops looking like it's the winning strategy. Well, it is going to be the winning strategy unless these guys get into all sorts of trouble.
Hamilton has that medium tyre on the car in comparison to the hard tyre of Verstappen and Norris ahead, but both British drivers have been superb today. But Verstappen, he's not happy with the brakes on the car, but he has dug deep. He has inched his way by. But this has not been the slam dunk, easy win of earlier races in the season. as we go on board with the McLaren, looking to make the pass. That's what it looks like to improve up to second place in the Grand Prix. Lando Norris is in P2. That's his best ever result in Formula One. He would have been hoping today for P1. All he can do is push now. All he can do is push the Red Bull. They've given them a race all the way through. And it looks like he'll be studying the back of the car, disappearing in the distance.
How many race wins would Lando have if Max Verstappen had decided to be, you know, a lawyer or something?
It's true. It is true. This was the pass. Charles Leclerc, different stage of the strategy on a one-stop. Through goes the McLaren against the Ferrari.
I think this will be encouraging, though, for Lando. His 100th Grand Prix. It may well be, if there's no issues for Verstappen, it may not be a winning Grand Prix, but it's been a strong race for him.
The boss down there watching on.
Given the title as businessman, I think he's a bit more than that, isn't he?
Entrepreneur.
Life changer.
The man down there watching the pit stop of Russell, and it was 2.5 seconds out front. Lando Norris 1.4 seconds away. Hamilton has just done the fastest first sector of the entire Grand Prix so far. He's got his eye at the very least on that bonus point for fastest lap. George Russell also extended out there, down there in 9th. Second year in a row, just in a different race to his teammate around this track, but he is heading to Mexico, where he was in contention for the victory 1 year ago, and he took the victory in Brazil the race after that. There is confirmation of Hamilton's fastest first sector of the race so far. Can he light up those medium tyres and chase down the drivers ahead?
Yeah, this is going to be a shocker for Leclerc. By the time, I assume, pits again, that's going to bring him out behind Alonso. He's running an 8th.
Alonso does still have to pit again because he has not done the hard tires yet. He's run 2 sets of mediums. His teammate Lance Stroll right behind him has started on the hards, switched to the mediums, and the pace is still good. I still am a little confused by this because I look at the lap times that Hamilton was running, that Norris was still running on the hards late in that stint. They were still fairly competitive. When you think of how much time Max would have had to make up, how many cars would have had to get through at the same time. I mean, if I'm Stroll, I may be rolling the dice here and trying to do it on one stop because his lap times are still fairly competitive as well.
Well, Norris came in first. Verstappen responded, got out ahead, and then Hamilton, who extended that first stint, wasn't happy with the gap that he found. He was talking about the gap, wasn't he? At the moment, it's 7.5 seconds between Lewis Hamilton and the race leader. Could it be instead a battle for P2? You're seeing the comparison between the British drivers on your screen at the moment. It would be a 12th podium in Formula One for Lando Norris if he's able to get there. Only 1.7, 1.6 seconds away. Tantalizingly close from that maiden win that has been in the last, well, the second part of the season, seemingly getting closer and closer to the young British driver originally from the West Country in Britain. He's been getting closer to it. Just outside of Bristol, Lando Norris's place of birth. And he's on the 2-stop strategy. Lewis Hamilton has the fresher tyres, has the softer compound. It's medium versus hards. Hamilton loves this country, loves this racetrack, has plenty of trophies from here to prove it. And he's got a tall task ahead of him. We're on lap 41 of 56. Hamilton, 7.2 seconds remains the gap. And he will take everything he can out of this new set of medium tyres.
Just info at this stage, Max, but time lost to Checo, 39.8. Braking, 11, 12, 20.
Yeah, I know, man. My brakes are just...
As I say, it was just information.
And that continues our box set of GP and Max having a Barney.
I could have put money on that, easy money, that there was going to be a slightly fiery response from Max. You know, he's leading the Grand Prix. He's working hard with the issues he's got. And understanding where he's losing time to his teammate right now is probably not high on the list of his priorities.
I mean, Norris keeping him honest. He's not running away with it, but Max is still a couple tenths of a second a lap quicker. And like you say, still a monumental effort right now for Lando in his 100th Grand Prix. If they continue at this pace, it's still going to be one of the smallest victory margins that we've seen.
Absolutely. In comparison to the rest of the year, if you consider this is a race that is run entirely behind the green flag, this is going to be the tightest the Red Bull have had to work If you consider that Max Verstappen has won the Belgian Grand Prix this year from 6th on the grid, it was slam dunk, it was never a contest. 9th on the grid, he'd won it by halfway in Miami, he had the time in hand, and he got past his teammate on track. Talking of getting past on track, that's Alexander Albon improving up to 12th position with the up and under move to go past Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, Daniel, what's 10 seconds or so behind, I think, Sonoda. So, steady race, but they're running out of the points right now. I think Norris only a couple of tenths down in that middle sector, so he's sort of trading lap times with Verstappen as Hamilton makes chase to Leclerc ahead, who is still staying out there on that one set of tyres. Two sets of tyres, excuse me, one stop.
So fastest lap of the race for him, it was a 1:39.5 for Lewis Hamilton last time around. Max Verstappen is doing a 1:40.3. If he can get past quickly, he still has an opportunity, Lewis Hamilton here, to put pressure on a driver out front who's not happy with the brakes of his car, who's had wide moments at turn 11. But every time you're not able to make the move immediately, you're following in the dirty air of the sweepers. The magnificent changes of direction that we have at the start of the race. Hamilton will want this done by turn 12.
Yeah, he will be ideally poised to get the DRS, get the slipstream. Yeah, Leclerc, his tyres must just be exhausted by this point, but I don't even think Leclerc will put up any defence. Hamilton will easily get the pass done.
So Hamilton takes the slipstream. Leclerc closes the door, but there's nothing he can do. It's third place in the Grand Prix for Lewis Hamilton. And now, what has he got with those medium tyres? There was a really quick lap last time around with the use of DRS. What can he do in clear air?
But if he can keep this pace going, and it doesn't matter out of tyres, then yeah, I think he's got the pace to definitely clear Norris.
And then it's a case of how quickly can he do it? You can bet that Lando Norris is going to fight far harder than this from Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, that late in the tire life, there's just very little that Leclerc can do. You're just kind of hanging on, and as we've said before, you don't want to take anything else out of them, trying to defend a position that is, for all intents and purposes, gone either way. So let's see now how fast Hamilton can catch this man, Lando Norris.
So 3.8 seconds between, that is your reference point. Norris keeping Verstappen honest is the cliche to use at this point, trying to see whether that Red Bull has any fragility at all. You consider what we've seen across the season. It was a total outlier of a Grand Prix, wasn't it, at Singapore, where they just could not run the car over the bumps of the Singapore street circuit at Red Bull the way they wanted to. Everywhere else, they have been absolutely dominant. Hamilton is a master of this place, and he's going to try and prove it all over again. He has got very close to the win for 2 years in a row. The driver that has denied him, Max Verstappen. Less than 2 seconds over the line in 2021, and a pass with 7 laps to go at this corner for Max Verstappen. Last year got him the win.
So, big gap ahead. Yeah, you're pulling him, mate. You're pulling him in. So, forecast P2, maybe the win.
Maybe the win. Hamilton has never gone longer in his career waiting for a victory. He's wanted an opportunity like this. Earlier in the weekend, wasn't just about the time deficit, wasn't about where he was in the grid, talked about having a better feel in the car. Hamilton will sniff an opportunity. That is the radio message he wanted to hear. Let's see this lap time over the line. We'll give you a direct comparison to Max Verstappen in a few seconds.
What do you think about plan C or keep plan D?
What the plan C is ruining my race. Now better try. It's too late.
Yeah, Leclerc knows. Is that one the one-stopper? Yeah.
I think they don't know at this
and
stage.
DC want to see a one-stopper.
I want someone to do it now. I want someone to try.
Yeah, I think, sorry,
Go on,
Alex, I was going to say, I think Leclerc's saying if he stops now with only, what we got, 11 laps to go, then he knows he's well out of it.
That was the information he was relaying on the radio. That's the Ferrari driver currently in 4th position. Fastest first sector of the entire Grand Prix so far from Max Verstappen, who's responding to Lewis Hamilton. Last time around, Hamilton 3/10 faster than the man in the lead of the Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso on the charge of that piece of tarmac. We've seen that go wrong before, but this time it's a sweep by Yuki Tsunoda, and Alonso, who has just stopped, put on the hard tyres, has gone from the pit lane to 9th place. And we're going to see more moves now. That's Hulkenberg thinking about the pass. This is important down there. And Hulkenberg gets past Daniel Ricciardo. So he's run the medium tyres back-to-back. And Ricciardo, who has one stopped, unable to defend. Hulkenberg up 5 places.
Looks like Verstappen is just starting to respond to fuel comes off. We're getting into the latter stages of the Grand Prix. Just done the fastest first sector. Only a 10th or so quicker than Norris and Hamilton, but he's keeping an eye on them. 40.2 for Verstappen, 40.6 for Norris, 40.2 for Hamilton.
46 laps out of the 56. Lando Norris just sitting there, hoping for something dramatic to unfold in front of him, and knowing all the time he's got to push and keep the tyres still. You can still spike a hard tyre temperature through the roof at a track like this. There's Sargent making the pass, and he gets past Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo coming back from that broken hand at Zandvoort, missed 5 Grand Prix weekends. Will try and establish himself in the next couple of races that close the year. We go to Mexico, then to Brazil, a first trip in 40 years to Las Vegas. This time we're going down the strip rather than a car park for Caesars Palace Hotel, and then we close out the season, as is tradition these days, at Abu Dhabi.
Same pace as Hamilton.
Please, no talking and in the braking.
Understood those.
You can hear it in his voice. He's having to work a lot harder than we're used to hearing, you know, seeing Max Verstappen have to work. 3-second gap, again, one of the smaller margins we've seen at the checkered flag, especially for an all-green race. And he's battling these braking issues. It's so tough when the car's handling well and everything's just working. It's never easy, is it, DC? But it's certainly a lot easier when you're managing a problem on top of managing tires and things like that with the car. It is just so much more mentally taxing. And that's what Verstappen's dealing with right now.
Yeah, but I think, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. It's Max Verstappen. He's 3-time champion, 26 years old. But the sort of the pain in his voice, if you like, that he's fighting for this victory like the championship depends on it. It doesn't depend on it.
But for Max, it's every race is the championship. You know, he just drives with such a fierce competitive nature, as every F1 driver does, but you really, really feel it every time Verstappen's in a race car. He just wants the absolute maximum performance.
You do sometimes see drivers take the title and ease off slightly to enjoy things before the end of the year. Max Verstappen is not in that category. He stays where he is at the moment. It would be win number 15 for the season. This is the 18th Grand Prix that we have run in 2023.
Things are getting uncomfortable for Norris as Hamilton took the best part of almost a second out of him. Last time around, you can see the gap, 1.6. I think Norris is running out of go-go juice, and Hamilton is looking good for the second place.
Last time around, Lewis Hamilton did a 140.2, Max Verstappen a 140.5, Lando Norris a 141.1, and the gap coming down with every corner now. Lando Norris has been in the position where he's going to score 12 podiums without a victory. He's been a contender today. He's been in the fight, but in the end, they went early for the rubber, and Red Bull were able to cover off that track position. They were able to come into the pits, to put the tyres on, and to get out ahead of Lando Norris. As a result, that looks like it has ended Norris's chance of a maiden win, but it's such a strong second half for the British driver. He's got another Brit behind him who's chasing another return to the podium. We're going to see these two wheel to wheel in a couple of moments' time, because Hamilton is tantalizingly close to DRS as we go on board with Lance Stroll, who's endured a tough couple of races, but he's just fought his way past Yuki Tsunoda for the final point. And Stroll, who's gone from the pit lane to the points previously in the USA, has done so again there, and he's made the move at turn 12.
Yeah, good comeback drives from both the Astons. His teammate Alonso in 9th, and as you say, Stroll you know, we'll just see the back end of it. Is this around the outside? Yeah, it is indeed. So brave and great.
Very late movement.
It is worth saying, sorry Hinch to cut across you, just want to tell everyone at home that Lance Stroll is under investigation for driving his car to the grid at the start. It's going to be investigated after the Grand Prix. He knew he had to start from the pit lane, clearly forgot on the reconnaissance lap and went to the grid, then had to be wheeled back in. So that 10th place at the moment is going to be looked at, whether there is a penalty for not lining up in the right place. But talking of lining up, wheel to wheel we go. A battle of the Brits for second position, and Hamilton trying to turn it into a traction race because he's got the softer tyres compared to Lando Norris. He knows there are marbles on the outside of the corners. He ducks back in. He'll wait for his next opportunity at turn 1.
Yeah, that'll just take a little bit of pressure off Max out front. As these guys battle, they will lose time.
Alonso is reporting a rear suspension failure, and he's just lost the position to his teammate Stroll out front, though. This is for second place in the Grand Prix. Can Hamilton dive to the inside? Oh, late move from Lando Norris to go to the inside. You can make one move. It was decisive. Hamilton tries to fight his way by, and will he get ahead? Brilliant action between the pair of them. Lewis Hamilton takes second place in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was a very sort of closing door from Lando Norris, but Hamilton reacted, and in the end, when the drag strip came down, he had more tyre and more performance. Mercedes power against Mercedes power, but Hamilton mighty.
But we can't see anything yet, Fran. We can't see anything.
Yeah. Alonso's dropped out of the points. Yuki Tsunoda's back in there. There's something going on as we review the move for second place.
You see Lando, he moved first, he moved far, but just entering so shallow like that really compromises the exit. We already saw how much better drive off the corner the Mercedes had earlier. Toto Wolff looking on, I'm not sure why he's shaking his head, but he's got a smile. I'm not sure if he's happy or sad.
Well, we don't know whether that was in reaction to that event or whether it's just something they've got in the can, but he's got to be happy with that. That was a good, decisive comeback there from Hamilton.
I would love it if our team have Toto Wolff shaking his head in the locker, just ready to go at any point. It was, you're allowed, the rule is, the driver etiquette is you're allowed to make one move. And Lando Norris, that's why he took that line into the turn. You're not allowed to peel back to the racing line.
We've got Verstappen, he is 5 seconds ahead. He is managing a brakes issue though.
Well, it'd have to be one of the greatest periods of Lewis Hamilton's entire career if he was to close down that gap. He will try and put the pressure on, but he needs a mistake from Max Verstappen to end this winless streak that stretches back to Jeddah 2021, the penultimate race of that year. Ferraris are about to do battle. We saw this at the end of Monza. We're going to see it in Austin, Texas. We go on board with Carlos Sainz. He's half a second away from Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc still trying to make that one-stopper work, just hanging on to those hard tires. He's been on them now for 26 laps, so doing a great job managing it, but obviously the fresher rubber on the 55 is going to give him a huge advantage coming up down this back straight into turn 12.
Hamilton has just done the fastest first sector of the Grand Prix so far, but it was only a 10th ahead of Verstappen. He needs more than that in the remaining laps. He needs something to go wrong, and now Alonso's being told that there is a problem with the floor of the car, and he is coming in to retire. The two Scarlet Ferraris are about to go side by side, and there's no battle there for Charles Leclerc. He's waved his teammates through.
By, do not lose time.
Message received, message accepted. Different strategies. The two stop better today than the one, and Sainz takes 4th place in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's all about, you can just see in the distance there, or not the distance in the background, Perez 2.6 behind Leclerc, and Perez, looking at his lap times, yeah, he's a full second quicker than Sainz, so I think Sainz is going to lose another place to Perez as Fernando Alonso retires the car, and we now know they're seeing on their data logging that he's got some dropouts in floor performance.
So they brought new updates to the car, Aston Martin, at the start of the weekend. Alonso reverted back to the Qatar spec so they could do effectively a test session to test session that Lance Stroll has taken into 9th place from the pit lane, so it's not worked out badly at all for him. But Alonso is retiring from the car, and that is his first failure to finish as an Aston Martin driver. He retires from the US Grand Prix. Verstappen just covering off Hamilton's charge. He's done the fastest first sector to basically say, I am calling off the fight. I've got the measure here. Hamilton was talking about the gap being big. He was saying, you've given me a big gap to close down on the radio. In the end, it looks like it's going to be insurmountable.
Why do I have to let Sainz by? Let's pick us for the race.
That's the time to do it. Now's not the time. But you saw that graphic come up, DC. This is why we're not strategists, because it said the alternate strategy for Hamilton, the one stop there, powered by AWS. If he had been one, he'd be down in 3rd. So he'd be a little bit further back, which means we're probably sitting in the right seats, not being on pit wall.
Yeah, well, it certainly kept us all well entertained as we try to wait and see how it was going to play out. But we now know the only one that's been brave enough to go with one has been Leclerc. And looks like that's going to result in a 6th place for him.
I see Norris is low, no?
Yeah. Yeah, 1 second lower than us. Push.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, Norris has been in the 141s for a while. Sainz, an unbelievable race reader, Carlos Sainz. The capacity he has to read the race as he goes, absolutely superb. I think he's just going to run out of laps. I think Lando is bringing that McLaren home. But we will find out.
Yeah, 4 laps to go, 4 seconds to catch. It's not going to be an easy task for Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, Norris has responded on that last tour as well. Sainz significantly faster, but it's not at a second a lap. So question for Carlos Sainz is, can he get within the second, give himself an opportunity and bolt for the podium on the final tour? And it would be the 56th and last lap. Well, we have seen a Grand Prix hang in the balance all the way through today. Max Verstappen having to be far more measured than we've seen. We've heard about the problems with the brakes that he's endured. We've heard the tone of his voice on the radio, how he's not quite his very, very normal, calm self. Lando Norris led more laps today than he has done for the entire season in Formula One and put some great stints together. Let's hear from Sainz again.
You think you can do it?
I'm gonna try for
Let's go. Let's go.
Seems a bit of a redundant comment. I mean, he's not going to not try, is he? So it's you see up there, penalty for Alex Albon, exceeding track limits too many times. We saw last lap the black and white flag come out. Now he's done it again, so +5 onto him. He's outside the top 10, so it's not really going to affect a points paying position, and he's actually 12 seconds ahead of Hülkenberg, so it's not really going to affect anything on his day. But Perez is getting close here.
Yeah, he's going to have a dive up into 1. Sometimes it feels like the Ferrari transmissions, and with the greatest respect, they're speaking in a foreign language. It must be difficult to do all that in English if your native language is Italian or whatever, but it sounds almost computer generated. It's almost like AI.
Let's see, the up and under should be a change of position, and it is. That's the difference between fresh tyres and old tyres. That's the difference between 6th and 5th in the Grand Prix. And Sergio Perez would have hoped to have cleared both of the Ferraris, but he's got past 1 and he's got 5th place in his possession at a racetrack where they cheer him around every single corner. And it's pretty good here. It's something else in a week's time. The first time he went to his home race, Sergio Perez, the first time that we returned to Mexico City and that circuit that we visit next Sunday, he was moved to tears. Such was the adoration for him, and he's improved a couple of positions up there. He will hope to be the first ever Mexican driver to win the Mexican Grand Prix next time out, as we are ticking down into the final laps. And just looking at the comparison now between Norris and Sainz, it's a half a second on the last lap, and that basically ends the opportunity. Norris is indeed just bringing it home. He's currently winning the vote for driver of the day, and he's put a lot in to this performance on a landmark day. 100 Grand Prix starts, and looks like another trip to the podium, but we've seen things change late across the years that we've been racing in the States. There are 3 to go, and Max Verstappen has a 3.6 second advantage over Lewis Hamilton.
I don't want to be the downer of the group, but we look at this gap to Hamilton, 3.6 seconds, and you get excited about the fact that it's by far the closest margin that we've seen in an all-green race But you got to remember, Max is nursing a brake problem. He is not happy in that car. We've heard the issues. We've heard the frustration in his voice. I'm sure that's the first thing he'll say. If the car was handling well, we'd have won by 30 seconds again. So it's, yes, it's great to see it on paper, but you have to think it's just that much more impressive. He's been able to manage this race with a braking problem as significant as it sounds like this one is.
Yeah, you can see just again there through 11. He's never getting the car rotated as well as he normally does.
3.6.
No talking and the braking, man.
And there to underline the point, the radio transmission is 3.6, it's now 3.2, once again at the US Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are hardly going to be separated over the line. Last time out, Verstappen was very nearly a second slower than Lewis Hamilton. We usually, on the next tour, see a response just to steady the ship. I expect that we'll see something rather similar again, but he has had to work for this, unlike any Grand Prix win in the dry this season.
Yeah, but again, you just see you see more of the side of the car when he's trying to get around these tighter corners, and he's just not managing to rotate the car the way he normally does. And well, he dropped 8/10 on that lap, so gap down to 2.8 seconds.
It's not done yet. We're on the penultimate tour. One lockup, and it would be DRS for Lewis Hamilton. It would be an opportunity. The real threat that we've seen on the evidence of the Grand Prix so far is turn 11. That's where we've seen the wide moments. And we are going to see the checkered flag waved, I imagine, with plenty of enthusiasm. 2.6 seconds. Max Verstappen being made 2.3 seconds, being made to work for it through every single corner. Couple of cars ahead for him to clear the lap traffic as well. And it's Magnussen and Joe ahead of him, the man who sits on this lap on 49 wins. At the end of lap 56, he hopes to take it to 50 to join Vettel and Prost, Schumacher and Hamilton. He gets past the Haas. Kevin Magnussen dutifully lets both of the race leaders go. Hamilton trying to extend the all-time win record today and take his 7th victory in the States. He's pushing him, but he's going to run out of laps.
Yeah, he is, as long as Verstappen doesn't run out of brakes. But this is definitely going to have put some juice in the tank of Hamilton to see how this car has progressed during the course of the year, and then to have this level of competitiveness relative to the Red Bull, even though it may well be a slightly wounded car. But Hamilton to be able to smell the fumes of the Red Bull is something that he hasn't had the pleasure, is that the word, or the displeasure of enjoying much this year.
We're on to the final 3.4 miles at the Circuit of the Americas, the 11th running here of the US Grand Prix. And we are about to see Lewis Hamilton chase Max Verstappen home by a fine margin once again. On his 100th Grand Prix start, it has been another standout performance from Lando Norris. His day on the top step will surely come in Formula One. He has worked so well to score the second most points in the second part of the season since they updated that car in Austria. But it's going to be a landmark day for Max Verstappen if he can just get the braking points right in the next couple of corners. There's the Red Bull, there's the Mercedes. Hamilton talks about that gap. They extended the stint, they put him on the medium tyres for the end, and as the brakes are nursed by Verstappen, he gets the DRS assistance of the lap car ahead, and he will move out down to turn 12, ready for a milestone moment in his Formula One career. Now, they added the stars and stripes to the side of the Red Bull. They're doing that at every American race this year. Verstappen has sounded flustered on the radio compared to what we've usually heard. He's had to nurse the brakes through all the while, but this is some roll call that he's about to join in Formula One. He's about to join Vettel, he's about to join Prost, Michael Schumacher, and the driver who's chased him all the way through, as a man who can say that he's won 50 Grand Prix races. And my word, has he had to work for it all the way through. This is the final corner of the last lap. The Dutch driver looks up and sees the checkered flag first for the 50th time in Formula One. Max Verstappen takes victory. He wins the US Grand Prix once again. Lewis Hamilton got the gap down to 2.2 seconds at the end, and on his 100th Grand Prix start, Lando Norris takes his 12th career podium. The top three with outstanding performances all the way through the Grand Prix, but it's 15 wins in the season for this man. Max Verstappen is heading to the top step once again. He had to fight for it, though, in comparison to the other races this year. That was a fine, fine performance from the man out front. And here is Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. The man who has struggled to visit the points this year is going to get there, and he's got the soft tyres on as he chases the bonus point for fastest lap on the last tour. Fastest in the first sector and the second sector. He was on fine margins for track limits on the exit of turn number 12, but now Yuki Tsunoda getting the airtime across the line. It was Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris, then Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Russell, Gasly, Stroll from the pit lane, and Yuki Tsunoda, who comes across the line and doubles his points tally from 1 to 2 with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on the 56th and final tour. 2 points added to his tally, only his 4th points finish of the year.
Well done. Enjoy the celebrations. I'll see you Friday.
All right, mate. Well done. Well done. Tough race, but still won, so that's good.
Yeah, well done, mate. That's win number 50 for you, and quite a few in a row in the US now. So, yeah, we're very well managed with the issues you had. Well done.
Yeah, exactly. Good win still. Great job.
Back to the calm, cool, collected Max Verstappen that we are used to, but the 140,000 that line this circuit were treated to a superb Grand Prix 3 hour.
Nice work, Lewis. So that's P2, mate. That was an amazing drive. We just needed a couple more laps.
Fantastic weekend, guys. Really well done. We've got work to do in lots of different areas, but let's keep pushing. Thank you to everyone back at the factory for the upgrade. Let's keep pushing. We're getting closer. Next time. I really appreciate you not giving up on us.
No, never give up, mate. Never give up. That's a solid drive.
Hamilton fighting his way through from 3rd on the grid up to 2nd in the race. In the end, 8.5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris across the line. And we check in with Lando Norris on the podium for the 6th time this season, the 12th time in his career. Let's hear from him.
Aye, that was a tough one. But another podium.
That is a mixture, I would say, of a driver who's desperate to take that first win, but is still delighted that in comparison to the start of the year, they are miles ahead.
Well, that's just it, right? You have to check yourself in those moments sometimes. As a racing driver, you want to win. He led so much at the start of that Grand Prix. You're still on the podium of a Formula One race. So you do have to put it all into perspective, but that man will not be truly happy again until he is standing on the top step of a podium, as much as he'll enjoy being on the podium today.
Well, it was a challenge today for Max Verstappen, and to show that he isn't absolutely perfect. He hasn't managed to get the Pirellis at the top of both the tyres as he lined the car up there in the victory lane. Maybe next time. Keep trying, Max.
Things only DC notices in the commentary box. For the 50th time in Formula One, for the 5th time in a row in the USA, Max Verstappen is the winner and into the arms of the team, relieved after having to really dig deep for it. And that is a satisfying moment. 15 Grand Prix wins in a single season. He ties his own record and looks to extend it next time out in Mexico City. Celebrations once again for the 3-time world champion who embraces his girlfriend Kelly Piquet down there. And it was an intense race. They were having to manage at points, they were having to push at others. There's Lando with the special crash helmet design for his 100th Grand Prix. Great support, no matter who the driver is in the crowd, all the way through this weekend. Another superb attendance at this venue. That is Lando Norris's 4th podium finish in a row. That is the longest current podium streak that we have in Formula One. For Lewis Hamilton, he was on the rostrum in Singapore, and then once again he's kept this ridiculous run going. Only one race in the entirety here. He's not been on the podium, and he was 4th that day as they take on the fluids once again. And there is Yuki Tsunoda, who had a cameo at the end with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on the last tour. and gets 2 points for his team. And he's seen those opportunities disappear plenty of times, so real satisfaction, I would imagine, for the young Japanese driver to deliver points for the AlphaTauri team. And he's had plenty of teammates across the board. If we go through the admin of Lewis Hamilton being weighed, that weight will then be added to the car. There's always some good headgear around this.
I wondered where I lost my purple suit to.
Hamilton just taking a breather.
Yep, he goes behind the banner there to remove his helmet, get his hat on, sort his hair. Well, these two buddies talk about their Grand Prix. Bumpy circuit, many challenges they had to deal with.
See Max talking about the brake pedal there, said he couldn't feel it quite properly. Lando doesn't really want to hear it though.
No, when you think that you've pushed the Red Bull all the way and you find out there was in fact a problem, different story. The hill there has been full all the time that the cars have been on track. It's one of the best sights of the season, I'd say. A huge flag in the distance, all those seats filled for the Grand Prix, or the hill completely full. And Logan Sargent wandering back in. 12th position for him, and 1.2 seconds away from Alex Albon, who had that 5-second penalty. Encouragement for him when he needs it. Jenson Button is going to interview the top 3 drivers: Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen.
Congratulations, Max Verstappen. You've just won the US Grand Prix. Some might say it's just a Max Verstappen win, but that one looked a little bit more complicated than normal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it started already with starting in P6, but I think the whole race I was struggling a lot with the brakes. So yeah, around here there are quite a few braking points, and I couldn't really have the same feeling as yesterday. So that definitely made my race a bit tougher out there today. But yeah, you could see it was very close to the end. And then also with the back markers, you know, when the tires are already going, it makes it all a bit more difficult.
Were you biding your time through the race? Because I think a lot of us expected you to be in the lead a lot earlier. It took sort of 28, 29 laps before you challenged for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, of course you don't want to destroy the tires, but like I said before, at the same time I was struggling a lot on the braking, so it took quite a while to at least find a bit of a middle way.
How does it feel to be part of the 50 wins group with this guy over here, Lewis Hamilton, and only a few others?
Yeah, I mean, that's of course incredible to win my 50th Grand Prix here as well. So yeah, very proud, of course, and yeah, we'll just keep on trying to push for more.
Congratulations, Max.
Thank you.
Lewis, watching the whole weekend this weekend, you've looked faultless. It looks like you feel at home in this car, you have confidence in this upgrade, and so close to challenging Max today.
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to congratulate these guys. This team has just done an incredible job all year long, just dominated, and Max has been really flawless. So we were catching him towards the end, and I was hopeful, but we needed some more laps. We had, the team did an amazing job this weekend. So much work to bring this upgrade here, and honestly, it was really difficult after the last race. Firstly, with like everything that's going on in the world, and then obviously the big mistake that I made, and I really felt like I let the team down so much. So I had to go through a real deep process of getting myself back to here, and it was again just one of those experiences of you know, it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. So came in fighting, felt great, and really happy with this result.
It must feel pretty special here, because I know, having worked with you, how much this place means to you. Obviously racing in America, but this circuit, you're a bit of an expert when it comes to
I've just always loved the States ever since I was like 8 years old when I came out here. First to Albuquerque, then Los Angeles and Las Vegas, which I can't wait for us to go and race. But you know, I've just always felt really welcome here. The people have been so welcoming, and getting to work with lots of great companies. So it's a really progressive country, and I'm super grateful for the support that we have.
You've done so much for this sport, Lewis, so it's lovely to see you fighting at the front again.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
Lando. If it was a sprint, it would have been yours.
But
it didn't quite hold on. But the pace looked so good in the first stint.
Yeah, it's just leading the race. I could control it a lot, but just not enough today. But I'm happy. It was a good race from my side. We knew our struggles. We knew what was going to be difficult today, and it was just the degradation. But the pace over the first 10 laps of every stint, the pace in the beginning was strong. I just couldn't hold on long enough. So we're getting there. Progress every weekend. Just some more steps needed.
You're also racing with the two best in the business at the moment, and pretty aggressive defending from yourself on Lewis out there at turn 1.
I mean, I had to try, right? But I just couldn't do it. I didn't have enough tyres left at the end. You saw how quickly he pulled away at the end. So, you know, I always had to look after my own race. I did the best I could. I had to push and look after the tyres, and it was just too difficult today. So maybe if it was a cooler track, it would have suited us a little bit more, but it wasn't. But I'm still happy. The team have done an excellent job. To finish on the podium here was still better than we were expecting coming into the weekend. So very happy.
Cool. Congratulations, mate. Keep it up for Lando.
Thank you.
Jenson Button speaking to the top 3, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, and our winner, Max Verstappen, once again in position as he makes his way to the podium after his 12th career podium, his 4th in a row, and his 6th for the season. So the crowds, this is great to see, making their way onto the main straight. And the 11th Grand Prix that we've hosted here, seeing a race in the balance all the way through. And we were wondering whether it would be a one-stop. Then Norris came into the pits, then Verstappen came in as well. Hamilton extended the stint, but overall, we got to the same outcome we've seen more often than not in Formula 1 2023. The Red Bull fans, the ones cheering around the circuit of the Americas, and a landmark day for Max Verstappen, who takes his 5th win in a row in the States and has the ability now in Vegas to win all 3 trips to the USA in Formula 1 2023. That's the moment that he's on the car once again. The driver who has been absolutely mesmeric since the start of 2021. This is the moment over the line for Lando Norris in the McLaren.
Well done, boys and girls. Well done. Good load of points. Thank you very much. Good weekend.
Yep, good effort, mate. And Lando, driver of the day as well.
Thanks. Thanks, fans. Basically a win then, really.
Okay, Nico, you finished P13. You were within 10 seconds at Albon.
Doing the same times as me on trucking meeting. Out in hot. You're struggling at the end.
Yeah, the hard time was not that good. I already saw in the first stint of Lando that they were not good. So yeah.
Jeez, Carlos on the inside of me.
Yeah, I was a bit scared of Carlos. Him in turn 1 in Austin on this friends.
Yeah, it's not his favourite corner.
The wind was changing a lot, like 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. One lap was okay, and then the other lap understeer.
Like there was one lap I went like 5 tenths quicker.
And then the next lap again slow.
You're good in the first stint. Just got stuck again.
Let's take a selfie.
That concludes the cool-down room. They're going to make their way to the podium in a few moments' time. No yellow flags, no virtual safety car, no full safety car, just green flag running all the way through. And the temperature, 31 degrees air temperature out there. So physical with that first sector, the amazing direction change that we enjoy when we're looking at the trackside pictures, but the drivers taking on the fluids, and you understand why as a result. Max's father, Jos, looking on. Took him into a go-kart, pushed him very, very hard, to say the very least. But look at the reward that he has seen. 50 Grand Prix wins for his son, making his way through there, being cheered to the podium. The winning car in front of the podium, the Circuit of the Americas with its 11th Grand Prix today, welcomes Lando Norris to a Formula One podium for the 12th time. And Zach Brown, at his home event, able to celebrate seeing one of his cars up there. Lewis Hamilton pushing all the time. He was 2.2 seconds away, and he takes his place on the rostrum. But Max Verstappen is a winning machine in Formula One 2023, and he will hear these familiar two national anthems, his 50th Grand Prix win. For the 15th time this season, you have heard the Dutch and Austrian national anthems played for Max Verstappen. And he takes another win. The governor of Texas presents the trophy to Max Verstappen. And it's kiss and light it up for the trophies once again, as it was at the Japanese Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. And the gold medal presented by the FIA president. The first driver to win 5 Grand Prix in this country in a row. Hamilton did 4 in a row. Michael Schumacher did 4 in a row as well. And it's Red Bull taking another trophy, defeated by McLaren in the sprint in Qatar, defeated by Ferrari in Singapore. But everywhere else, it's been their season. And the man this crowd adores, in second position, and taking another podium trophy. That's 10 and 11 races at this track for him. And this man's getting closer. You heard a hint of regret in his voice across the line, but his day is surely not far. 100 Grand Prix and 12 times in that 100 in the top 3 by the end of Grand Prix Sunday. But Formula One in 2023, where you can chuck bad brakes, you can chuck wet conditions, you can chuck dry conditions, you can change the contenders from Ferrari to Aston Martin to McLaren to Mercedes. But 15 times this year, Max Verstappen has found an answer and stood on the top step. The winning margin of 2.2 seconds promises much. Mercedes have updated their car and they're getting closer. And McLaren, they're resurgent. But for the moment, there's one king in Formula One, and his name is Max Verstappen, the 3-time champion of the world, taking a 3rd victory at the circuit of the Americas, had to work hard in all three, in 2021, 2022, and this year as well. The ticker tape is falling on the top three, soaked in champagne, and they deserve a glug of it after working so hard across the 56 laps. Hamilton and Verstappen finishing 1 and 2, and that combination is the all-time record in Formula One. Either version in front, but 36 times they have occupied the top two positions by the end of a Formula One Grand Prix. Lando Norris getting used to this feeling at the end of a Sunday. 4 times in a row he's been on the podium now. Great form. But they're still just out of reach. Max Verstappen continues his run. His next target to break the all-time season record, 15. He's claimed today. He goes for 16 in a week's time in Mexico City. So you look at this beautiful circuit in this wonderful city and the crowd soaking it all up. Let's confirm the order after 56 relentless laps of the Circuit of the Americas, with Max Verstappen claiming another win, his 5th in a row in the USA. Lewis Hamilton got the gap down to 2.2 seconds across the line as he claimed 2nd place, and Lando Norris with a 6th podium visit of the season in P3. Carlos Sainz 2-stopped to good effect and claimed 4th. Sergio Perez moved from 9th to 5th. Charles Leclerc was in 6th, and it was George Russell, Pierre Gasly. Lance Stroll's first points since before the summer break. He started from the pit lane. Yuki Tsunoda becomes just the 3rd Japanese driver to score the fastest lap, and he gets 10th place as well, so 2 points for him. Then it was Alex Albon. Look at the margin. Logan Sargent not too far behind him after Albon had a 5-second penalty. Then came Hülkenberg, Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, Kevin Magnussen, and Daniel Ricciardo. Fernando Alonso had to retire, along with Oscar Piastri and Esteban Ocon. We move on to the Drivers' Championship, where we see that Max Verstappen is on 466 points. Sergio Perez has Lewis Hamilton closing in fast. 238 plays 219. That is going to be a battle for 2nd place in the championship. Then it's Alonso ahead of Sainz. Sainz continuing to battle closely with Charles Leclerc. And then it's Norris, Russell, Piastri and Pierre Gasly climbing into the top 10 thanks to his points in both Sprint and Grand Prix this weekend. Lance Stroll in 11th, but he is a point scorer for the first time since before the summer break. Esteban Ocon in 12th ahead of Alexander Albon and Valtteri Bottas in 14th. And it was Hülkenberg, Zhou Guanyu, and then you've got Yuki Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen, Liam Lawson, Logan Sargent, Nick de Vries and Daniel Ricciardo continues to be rooted at the bottom of the drivers. We move to the Teams Championship, the Constructors Championship. We've been running this one since 1958, and it's Red Bull who earlier this year claimed their 6th title. Mercedes find themselves in 2nd, Ferrari in 3rd, McLaren take that 4th place away from Aston Martin, who are down to 5th, and then it is Alpine, Williams, Alfa Romeo, Haas, and Yuki Tsunoda helping close that gap to Haas with a couple of points for AlphaTauri today. Well, it's been a weekend to savour. It always is when we come to the Circuit of the Americas just outside of Austin. My thanks to the entire team, whether they be in the UK, whether they be on site here in Texas. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you next week when Formula One returns. Goodbye.